Hey, what is going on, guys? Hopefully, you're having a good day so far. It is another episode of the Money Talk with Billy Zerillo. That's who I am, right? If this is your first time jumping on the live or just tuning in general, I'd love to hear where you guys are coming in from. Make sure you comment below. Like I said, love to be an interactive show. But anyways, my name is Billy Zerillo. I am a financial advisor. I help millennial families answer tough financial questions and relieving their stress. And today we're going to be talking about mastering your money and the joys of doing live video. Right? There's no redos, right? And so today's live is mastering your money, why your burn rate matters. And just to let you know, up front, none of this is investment advice or anything like that. So won't be giving any information like that. This is just really educational and based, just trying to help you understand where your money is going. Because once you begin to understand how you treat your money, how you what your relationship like is with money, the often or not, the more aware you become of that, and the better you're going to treat it, and the longer it's going to stay around. So, but anyways, guys, like I said, hopefully you're enjoying today. This is the Money Talk. It's a spin-off show of the Millennial. So make sure if you're, if you don't know what that show is, right? It's a show. It's with me and Melissa Miller. We talk about all things millennial, bridging the gap from generation to generation. So we love having those types of conversations. So, anyways, guys, I'm live for the first time on YouTube, which is pretty interesting. Trying that out. We'll see how that that goes. Typically live on just Facebook, LinkedIn, stuff like that. But we're trying something different to get the message out there. So let's talk about it. Let's get right into it, right? What is your burn rate? I think a lot of people, when it comes to understanding your money, they really just understand about, maybe their debt, right? That's obviously the big elephant in the room. And they think about, hey, I got to go to work, spend the money, right? Or get money so I can pay for the things that are in my life or pay off things that are in my life, whether it be student loans, credit card debts, all those types of things. But there's another form of spending that people really don't account for, right? We always account for bills, right? In the sense of debts and stuff like that, mortgages and stuff like that. But we don't want to account for the other spending. And a lot of the times that's where the opportunity truly lies of, understanding that discretionary, that non-discretionary spending that is that you that might be something along the lines of, going out to eat, those types of things, right? The unaccounted spending. And what I've found that in helping people understanding, one of the things that we help people understand is, are we using our income wisely? And burn rate is one of those elements that we use to look at and see, do we have a spending problem? Right? Most people do have a spending problem, some form of fashion, right? But what does that really look like? I get a question a lot of the times, you know, do I need a budget? Right? Well, everybody could benefit from using a budget, but how bad is it? Right? How bad do you really need to budget? Right? And what form of budgeting? Are you budgeting every day? Are you budgeting weekly, bi-weekly, monthly? Are you pretty good with your money, or you're not? Or do you need that day-to-day type of conversation to have with somebody? So let's talk about it. What is burn rate? Right? And going back to the elements, right? It's a program that I use to help clients understand exactly where they stand financially and how financially healthy they are, assess their problem, assess their situation so that we can prescribe and diagnose and prescribe a remedy for them to help them become more financially healthy. And like I said, one of the big ones that we take a look at is burn rate. And so burn rate is simply this. If you take your annual living expenses, so in other words, expenses, you know, that are not debt related in a sense, and you take your annual expenses divided by your total personal income, that equals your burn rate. Okay. So a lot of people, what would be an example, right? If I could give you an example, let's just say we have a client, they make, a person makes $10,000 a month. Their annual household gross income is, $200,000, right? Or I'm sorry, a client spends $10,000 a month, right? That's a lot of money to be spending in a month. But let's just say their gross income is $200,000. What is their burn rate? The burn rate is 60%. So part of the $10,000 is $1,200 mortgage. For just giving you an example, um, mortgage payments they're spending would be about 1880 a month, or 18 or 18 8,800 a month, right? That so their burn rate would actually be right around 52%. That's important, right? Because some of your money is going to debt and debt payments, right? But a lot of your money is going to other places, right? So where is this spending going? And so why is this important, right? Because spending habits affect a lot of your everyday life, right? It's often or not the fixed expenses that usually throw people for a loop, right? You have a mortgage, you have rent, you generally have to eat, you have to have power on, you have to have all these things, right? Just to survive. Then there's a lot of spending that happens in people's lives that they don't even know it's happening. It's going to, out to eat, a couple times a month versus maybe cutting that in half and only eating out, if you eat out 6 times a month, right? Maybe cutting that down to 3. But people don't realize that. They're just like, oh, I was talking to somebody yesterday and they said I asked them what their relationship about money, what their money relationship was. And they said, oh, it's an abundance mindset, right? Like I can just go out, and how I think about spending is I go out, I spend the money that I want to spend, because I know I'm always going to get more. And hopefully that's the case, right? Hopefully you have a steady income coming in where that's the case. But for some people, maybe their income fluctuates, right? Maybe they're entrepreneurs. Maybe they just got laid off from a job. But that was very interesting to say, that somebody is going to always have income, and that might not always be the case. But getting back to um, why it's important is because spending habits affect people's ability to save and to pay down debt. So the more money that is going to things that aren't necessarily in that realm, right? Reducing your debt and saving more money, because the only way to build net worth is to either reduce your liabilities, right? Or increase your assets, or both, right? And so your spending habits outside of your debt really play into your ability to effectively deal with those two things. Generally, most people have too much debt and are not saving enough money. And so we need to have a remedy for that. And that's where helping a client understand what burn rate is. So the biggest thing that you can do, so we talked about why it's important, and we talked about what burn rate is. I think it's essential that we talk about budgeting, right? Because often or not, people will say, well, I need a budget, Billy. Well, yes, but why are we budgeting? Most people think of the word budgeting as a dirty word, right? Like I'm budgeting this, right? Because I'm in trouble, or I don't make enough money, or I don't do XYZ. So I need to budget, need to pull back. Really, budgeting is optional and tracking is necessary. And so tracking where your dollars are going brings awareness to where your money is going, and will hopefully open your mind to putting that money in different places, right? Putting your money into different places that will more effectively reach your goals, which is saving more money and getting out of debt. Um, so we talked about why it's important. We've talked about what it is, right? We talked about budgeting and how that's usually the tool we look to helping somebody becoming um, having a lower burn rate, right? Um, Simply, the simply put is that in order for you to be financially successful, you have to know where your money is going. And it's critical component, your burn rate. There's other things that we look at when we're sitting down with somebody to make sure that their income is being used wisely. One, like I said, burn rate's a big emphasis on that, but it's a critical component to your overall financial health. And people don't really think about financial health. They think about, how are my investments doing? How much debt am I in? They think about one singular thing. Most people, and we all do it, right? We get one track mind. We think about one thing. One thing that's keeping us up at night. But focusing all your energy on one aspect of your financial health can lead to the other areas not being healthy, right? I always tell people, like, hey, you could save a ton of money, right? You can save billions of dollars. Um, but if your debt's out of whack, right? If all you did was focus on saving, your debt could be out of whack, right? And now you have to pay all this debt off, or your spending habits could be out of whack. And all of a sudden, all this money that you saved is instantly gone. So negating the other factors, negating the other areas of your financial health, um, and just focusing on one leads you not to be a healthy person. So that's why you always want to take a look at, overall, how are you doing, right? Like when you go to the doctor, you don't necessarily, the doctor doesn't just do one test and then you leave, right? They typically do a lot of tests. They'll do blood pressure, they'll listen to your heart, your breathing, right? They'll do your height, your weight. They might take some blood, right? They might look in your ear, do the little hammer thing on your knee, right? They do a lot of different tests to assess how financially healthy you are. And without doing that, without knowing all aspects, you really can't make a sound decision. I mean, you can make a decision, but it might not be the best decision because you don't have all the data. And so, really, guys, what I wanted to do today was just kind of help you understand that burn rate is very important. So some practical tips that you can use, guys, is creating some type of budget or tracking, right? Knowing your expenses and asking yourself the simple question, do I need to have this much of my money leaving, right? Once you ask yourself that question, then you can begin to look at things that you can start to reduce. And you don't have to reduce it forever, but for a moment in time, you're going to have to do that in order to get out of debt, save more money, those types of things. So reducing your living expenses, creating a budget, and I'm not saying you have to look at your budget every day, but a good rule of thumb is biweekly. Like, look at your expenses biweekly to make sure that you're on pace, right? That you're that you're on the right track. Um, Cut back on your discretionary spending. Negotiating bills, guys. Call your cable provider, right, and say, "Hey, this bill is too high. We need to reduce it." They'll help you reduce it, or you just go find a different provider. That's what we did, right? Reducing um, your expenses, and then lastly, like I said, going back to just tracking. I think the biggest thing that you're going to be able to do to achieve your goals and improve your burn rate is by setting achievable goals, whatever your burn rate is. So figure that out, right? I can help you figure that out, but figure that out and then say, is this too high or is this too low based on my situation? Once you have that answer, then you can figure out, hey, what do I need to do to reduce this, right? Or is some money that I'm earning is unaccounted for, just kind of in the wind, right? So hopefully that brought a lot of value to you guys today. If it did, let me know in the comment section, guys. I'd love to get a yeah, get your feedback on that. Like I said, going live for the first time on uh, YouTube, which is interesting. Um, never done that before. So, but make sure you catch every live. We're live every Tuesday, right around the same time, right around 12:30 for your lunch hour, right? So that you can gain a little bit of knowledge, guys. We're going to be bringing on some guests here soon. Also, the millennials heating up. So if you're if you're a fan of this show, go check us out over there at the Millennial on Facebook. You can just search the Millennial. Um, great podcast with me and Mel. Make sure you check that out. She also does her shows. She typically does them on Mondays, but they're recorded and then you can check them out. So make sure you do that as well. So, anyways, guys, hopefully you enjoyed today's show. If you did, let me know in the comment section. And just let me know in the comments if you want to hear something very specific. But we're always here to help. But enjoy the rest of your days, guys, or enjoy the rest of your day. Have a good one. We'll talk soon. See you next Tuesday, and we'll see you Friday. Have a good one.